Hello everyone, welcome back to Fallen Timbers. Again, my name is Jared, and I'm here today to show you an awesome ecosystem that we're lucky to have here at Fallen Timbers. If you look back behind me, you can see this big flooded area in this woods. We call that an ephemeral pond. An ephemeral pond is different than a regular pond because it's a seasonal pond. It only happens at certain times of the year, and that's what makes it special. We'll get to that in just a little bit. So the reason that this flooded area is here right now is because over the winter we got a ton of snow, and as it warmed up this spring and we get into summer, all of that snow melted and the water gathered in this area and flooded up this woods. Once this water gets into this area, a lot of plants and animals love to use it in order to survive. So what will happen is as this water gathers in this area and it warms up, all of our amphibians are going to start to come out of hibernation. And amphibians love water. So they're going to come here and they're going to lay their eggs so that they can have babies. When they lay their eggs in this area and their eggs hatch and they turn into little baby amphibians, there's no fish in these ephemeral ponds for them to get eaten. All right, because the reason there is no fish in this area is because these ephemeral ponds dry up throughout the year. And because fish can't live out of water, they're not going to live in this ecosystem. So these are all kind of nurseries for our amphibians to live in and have their babies and raise their young in. The one type of frog that lives in this area that we have a ton of is called a wood frog. And I'll insert a picture of a wood frog right here. Another animal that uses this area a ton is an animal called a wood duck. And I'll insert a picture of that animal right here. So yeah, you can obviously see the wood duck is a very, very beautiful bird, and it's a cool area to hold that species and be able to see them. As I came in here today, I actually scared out 4 wood ducks that were swimming around in the ephemeral pond back there. So this area is super important to birds, and it's also very important to some of our plant species. And you can look that up with some of the resources that I'll get to in just a second. These ephemeral ponds are also super important to humans. The reason that they're important to humans is that these areas manage our floods throughout the year. These are our water holders. So what happens is after the snow melts, all of the water gathers into these lowland areas to sit and soak down into the ground. The same thing happens after heavy rains. If we get heavy rains, the water will just drain into this area. Once it drains into this area, it just sits here and either evaporates up into the sky or soaks down into the ground and flows through the ground until we can use it in our wells. So because the water can come here and just sit here for a while, it doesn't make the water roll off on top of the ground and cause runoff. When runoff happens, a lot of the time water goes down into ditches, into creeks, streams, or rivers, and then that floods those rivers, and sometimes that can cause a lot of damage. We've had a lot of flooding in the Green Bay area in the past couple of years, and to see an ecosystem that manages that for us is pretty cool. So these ecosystems are super important to animals, to humans, and they need to be seen as special areas. What I want you to do is I want you to use the worksheet that I have linked down in the description to go over some of these points with your students that I just went over. And then I want you to go find your own ephemeral pond in your area. An ephemeral pond is just any area that floods up with heavy rain or after snow melt in the springtime. After you do that, you can list some of the creatures or the animals that you found in those ephemeral ponds. To do that, you just need a net, maybe an ice cream pail to gather those creatures in, and just explore in those areas. Make sure that you're wearing clothes that you don't mind getting dirty as you're doing this, because these flooded areas do have a little bit of muck and mud. If you don't have any ephemeral ponds in your area to use, you can definitely come here at Fallen Timbers and explore our ephemeral pond here and see what kind of animals or creatures you find in it. After you fill out that worksheet, there are 3 different links at the bottom of that worksheet for you to use to explore ephemeral ponds a little bit more if you have some more questions. So yes, continue to get outside, go explore an ephemeral pond, and I'm excited that you guys are using these resources as much as you are. All right, thank you guys very much. Have fun outside.